first episode on the issue of Rule 56J, the major points which were highlighted by all the 4 former civil servants was that such a rule cannot be invoked casually unless the Department of Personnel and Training lays down parameters to gather information and a reliable database is built over a period of few years. Once such a database is ready, the review committees might find themselves taking legally sustainable decisions against an officer who may be treated as non-performer. In the absence of such a database, Rule 56J can be used as an effective tool to either eliminate the inefficient or to compulsorily retire the bad elements from the department. Even in known cases of corruption, where there can be some prima facie evidence, this tool is not going to be of any help to government departments, as Supreme Court of India has held it to be not punitive in nature. Let me now take you to the studio for more in-depth discussions on this issue.
Hello and welcome to second episode on the controversial issue of Rule 56J. We have 4 distinguished former civil servants with us. We have Mr. Sudhir Kumar, former Vigilance Commissioner and an IPS officer. We have Mr. S N Jha, a 1972 Batch IAS officer. We have Mr. S Khan, former CBDT Member, and we have Mr. Sumit Dutt Majumder, former Chairman, Central Board of Excise and Customs. Let me begin with Mr. Kumar. So, sir, we were talking about, but so then what exactly this database should comprise of? So what kind of information? Because today also we have ACR, FR, we have the department gathering, collecting, filtering, collating a lot of information, preparing it before the DPC is conducted. So, but so is this information which is going to actually help government or the screening committee in invoking this Rule 56J? Probably a different kind of data which we should start collecting and compiling.
I've had the experience of 4 years of either deciding or ordering disciplinary action or issuing the vigilance clearances in case of all India and central service offices as well as the public sector undertakings. The position is that you can't, unless you are in a position to substantiate a charge, you cannot hold that against an officer to deny him the promotion. Now, on performance, you have to have a certain kind of, you have to lay down the parameter. Have we, various departments, laid down the parameters? Are we judging them based on those parameters? If performance relating to economic development is a parameter, then have we judged the IAS officers rising from the grassroots level? And so you don't have those negative inputs by and large, where there are specific cases of corruption. So, you see, because any action of denial of promotion or compulsory retirement has got to be legally sustainable. And if it is not, then the committee which is responsible for ruling this, for denying this, will be held accountable. Absolutely. And you see, it is this committee. So what this committee is going to do is to closely scrutinize those who can be cleared for promotion or further continuance, and maybe closely scrutinize, still more closely, scrutinize those cases where there is an action possible, which would be legally, which may have been overlooked. Right, sir. But today the data provides this, that yes, we can hold it against him and then prepare a charge sheet and compulsory retire. Right. So it is, as of date, these committees will have a very limited implication because it is based on inadequate or tardy data. 5 years later, maybe if the government is interested in a sort of sustained effort in this direction, then it should be able to further define the points for evaluation of the personnel, of the officers, and maybe 4 years later, they would be able to find that they haven't measured up to the expectations, and so they should back off and
Right, sir. So what do you suggest, sir? I mean, the database side.
See, these review committees, screening committees or review committees look at the data which is presented before them by the Cadre Control Authority.
Right, sir.
I mean, these committees are not full-time
the
committees.
department.
that's the
इसमें
department.
secretaries की हैं
Yes,
जैसे,
yes, yes.
तो जो अपना जो department का होगा,
So whatever is the Cadre
Yeah.
Controlling Authority is, and what is it that Cadre Controlling Authority has? He has only ACRs.
Yes, right.
So at the end of the day, it boils down to a set of ACRs and maybe some complaints against, I mean, some matters relating to personal complaints, etc., against him, which is to be presented.
Right.
Now, this committee can at best, I mean, either look at it and say that there is material, or say that you put the officer, XYZ officers on some kind of watch list. Watch him for 1 year, 2 years. I mean, once upon a time, there used to be watch lists on which officers of suspect integrity were identified, and I mean, their supervisory authorities were asked to keep a watch on them. Now, all those mechanisms have, over a period of time, completely fallen into disuse. They are not there anymore.
Right, sir.
Similarly, ACRs, I mean, writing integrity column of an officer in ACR used to be a
elaborate process.
I mean, a very, very
Detailed,
detailed and onerous process. I mean, it's not that you used to write that
Right,
I know he is honest.
Yes, correct.
So, but what has happened is, over a period of time, the supervisory control over these things has become completely lax. Supervisory officers are reluctant, where they know for certain that people under them are not honest. They are still reluctant to record that as a matter of fact in the ACRs, and that is the result that we are seeing, that everybody, I mean, promotions have more or less become some kind of a conveyor belt.
Right, sir.
These processes which were required to screen off people are no more effective.
Right.
I mean, that's my view on it, and certainly at a senior level. So the result is that all kinds of people get promoted, and then you say that now that he has got promoted, he has reached 50 years of age, let us look at him, can we retire him? So, I mean, this does not work.
I would add just 2 more points. One is that, taking cue from what Khan Sahib had said about writing ACR, now it is known APAR. And it's so liberal in the sense that entire APAR has to be given to the concerned officer. Effectively what is happening, but a little time after the new thing came, the 2-3 years I was in service, everybody is giving 10 out of 10. Because the supervisory officer, the junior officer, 10 out of 10, honest, and all.
Right.
So actually, again, that hardly any point of differentiation between us. So perhaps that's why, in anticipation, maybe, although these judgments are 3 judgments I will quote. One is of 94, 95, and the other was of 2002. One is again the same Ramchandra Raju and Kandaswamy. This also said that conduct and reputation would be a relevant factor in invoking everything. But that's all right. But again, we come back to the point of Sudhir Kumar ji. How would you say that conduct and reputation is bad? So you have to have the record.
Charges have to be substantiated.
Substantiated, facts, records will be there. Right. So, but it gives a leeway that everybody is saying this is honest and this thing, but then if you have certain public perception that he is dishonest, although the officer has given in upper honest. Right. Third, another factor has been brought by the Vijay Kumar Jain case of 2002. There's an important one. He said that conduct unbecoming of a government servant is a very vague term, very vague expression. Conduct becoming unbecoming of a government servant is also a relevant factor for invoking FR 56J. But again, for that you have to build up records. Suddenly you can't say his conduct is unbecoming. So ultimately we come down, activities. I fully agree with what Sudhir Kumar ji had said. It's a continuous process. If it has come now, at least you give time, then perhaps over a period of time with that. And in the meantime, one good effect will have, I mean, I'm seeing the practical side of it, at least people will be more cautious now that this thing will be there. So let me be careful.
How do our revenue boards see the media in their overall plan to reach out to the common taxpayers? Do they have any sort of media guidelines?
Our revenue policymakers and field officials really interact with the media persons when it comes to mega policy decisions.
We are being on some occasions we are being very unfairly criticized.
What has to be the response on what do you respond and what is the content, all that is absolutely nebulous.
When we have to file a story, what do I do? I always depend upon private advisories.
We didn't have any instruction how to deal with media, so we acted on our whatever in our wisdom. It was good.
Do you think so that this particular rule can be certainly invoked against those who have been caught by some vigilant department or maybe the CBR, maybe other supervisory agencies, and of course, the charges are yet to be filed, etc. Those process of law and internal investigation will take time, but they have been accused of. There is some prima facie, some evidence. So those people can be, sir, they can be certainly covered under this immediately without much investigation. Do you think so, sir?
This cannot be used as a shortcut to disciplinary proceedings. The Supreme Court is very clear on this. 56J is not a shortcut. If you have definite evidence, you have carried out a search against somebody, you are trying to make a case of disproportionate assets, you can't say that I will use 56J and not carry out a formal proceedings.
Okay, so
that
can continue
that is
parallelly.
the catch-22. If you have enough evidence, if you don't have any evidence, you can't use 56J. If you have enough evidence, you have to go for a charge sheet. So that the dividing line is so thin that which is a case where 56J can be sustained on its own merits.
No, but there is, from what he says, they say a situation like this where the charge is in the process of being framed. Prima facie, you have found the fellow responsible for a misconduct. You have not gone through the elaborate process of establishing the charge through a departmental inquiry. Now, can you invoke 56J in that case?
My view is you cannot. If you have collected material, if you have a prima facie view that there is a charge against him, that you don't have an option to go via 56J or not go via CCA rules.
No, but what it says is that
I think it is the order of compulsory retirement shall not be passed as a shortcut to avoid departmental inquiry when such case is more desirable. Item 6.
But that is from what point of view is that? That is from the point of view is that means you are benefiting the officer. She should have gone through the punishment, but FR56J is not a punishment.
56J is not a punishment.
Not a punishment.
So that's very clear. No. So it's not a punishment.
It's not a punishment.
So because if he had been punished before retirement, then you see there would have been a major penalty. There would have been a cut in pension, or those implications would have been there. But then a very legitimate question can be raised that the suspicious conduct or a corrupt conduct has been reasonably established. Not through a quasi-judicial scrutiny, but you are on the verge of either issuing a charge sheet or either issuing a show cause notice or sending a charge sheet to the court of law. Can you get rid of this person through compulsory retirement?
So that in the process, because my charge sheet and all those things process will take 3-4 years, so that I do not allow him to cause further damage to the public service.
No, for that you can suspend him.
So that
you see, if 56J can become implementable, it would be only in those cases, if at all.
Where a reasonable suspicion has arisen, but no formal inquiry has been initiated.
No, even when inquiry has been initiated, you see, preliminary inquiry has been done. I am in a position I have established that a serious irregularity had been committed.
Right.
Now, can I make use of that?
Right.
To compulsory retirement.
Right. Let me relate to you my experience of several cases when I used to be in Directorate of Vigilance. I'm talking of 86, 87. This was Mr. VP Singh's time, and they had started a complete process where records of identified officers will be reviewed case by different committees. They will be brought to the Directorate of Vigilance. We will examine it. We will record what is the material and place it before the review committee. That was generally the procedure. And they had identified people by reputation, general reputation. We have heard that the XYZ man is not above board. So let us look at his record. So what we used to do we used to call all the assessments or appeals or whatever orders he had passed in last 4 or 5 years. We will go through them. We'll say that wherever he has taken a reasonable decision, that's all right. Let's pick out cases where it appears to us that a favorable decision has been given which was not justified. And we will put them into a sort of a long note, 8-10 cases, because over a period of time, these are the kind of decisions this man has taken, and place them before the review committee. The review committee will agree. Mostly it will agree, but in some cases it will say that also examine some more material, place it. Then it will go to, these are all commission level officers, then it will go to ACC, approval of ACC, retired. Now those matters went to the court along with those review notes, those long notes which were prepared and were part of records. In almost all the cases, the court, at that time CAT had just come in, CAT has said that you have identified specific cases where you say that he has granted a favor which ought not to have been granted. So this is a clear case. You are impeaching his integrity. So therefore you should have go against under CCC.
Go for the prosecution
for formal charge sheet.
Yeah. No. That's
so on that ground, virtually all of them were sent back.
But what I'm saying, but then if of course, here in this case, you have based in your own culling out of the records. You have not probably issued him a show cause notice and built further evidence on that. But consider a situation when you had sort of issued the notice also, you found his conduct amiss, and you have decided to serve him a charge sheet. Now, at that stage, and you had also the option to send a prosecution or register a criminal case. But can you then sort of resort to a shortcut to get rid of him?
My submission would be no.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Given the track record of the courts and the CAT so far, it may not be sustainable. But that is the only situation when you are asking me in what situation you can use this compulsion. That's the only situation where it can be invoked.
That's the point I was saying.
But you are still taking the risk.
The very intent and purpose of this official memorandum is to have probity in administration.
Yes.
Keep doing it.
Absolutely.
Nothing to worry, because development is people-centric. We are worried about the stumbling blocks being created by the lower bureaucracy, at which the corruption breeds and prospers. Now, that is our concern, because development is people-centric. People is the centrality of development. That's why we are very much concerned, and we think that these exercises should be more effective, so that there should be improvement in the bureaucracy from top to bottom.
Right. So that is why we were talking about this, how to make it effective.
So you see, then that means, one, it can at the moment serve as a deterrence.
Right.
You can then build further on this. मतलब इसमें 2-3 categories आएंगी. Maybe a closer scrutiny of some of the cases can give them the data or the material to act on this. I can tell you, I'm just digressing a little. It was mentioned that, the material for scrutiny is provided by the cadre controlling authority. But if the cadre controlling authority suppresses some data, I know of the income tax where actually the departmental inquiry ordered 10 years back was actually put in the cold storage until it was dug out at the stage of giving the vigilance clearance. So, you see, so that kind of a situation, we would imagine it would not happen because nobody would be prepared to take the risk. But if some cases where people may have deterred to take action, maybe a more focused application of mind may enable them to take action to carry it forward. The second category would be, the second advantage would be deterrence. If the message goes down that, you see, it is being put to the screening is very stringent, then maybe people would draw the lessons. And the third would be, take a lesson from this, because if success rate is very low and yet the problem of non-performance has to be dealt with, then you would say that introduce more stringent parameters for scrutiny so that you are able to achieve effective results 3-4 years later.
On this note, as rightly summarized, by Mr. Sudhir Kumar, taking into account various parameters, of course, the database becomes very critical to the sensitive action which any department is going to take against any officer. As rightly said, the success rate so far as judicial scrutiny is concerned has been very low. The Supreme Court, although has upheld the right of the Government of India to invoke this rule, but so far as the rights of the employees with respect to the laid down procedures, guidelines, it has been very difficult to uphold any order against any employee so far. Going by the number of cases we have also scrutinized. Looking at all these aspects, as rightly summarized, that this particular reminder, which is there, the Rule 56J as part of fundamental rule for several decades, a couple of amendments were done only in late 60s. After that, it has not been touched except for the judicial decisions which have come, and DoP&T has revised those instructions, an Office Memo in the past. Looking at this is going to be an effective deterrent if each department, government department, starts building up a reliable database, and that database which is going to be relied upon document later on for invoking this Rule 56J against known cases, perhaps established cases of non-performance. And hopefully all these aspects which are going to be taken into account by different ministries, department will help them tone up the administration. Ultimately, this is to strengthen the apparatus which is going to implement and deliver the public good, which the political masters are taking into account and working on. Let's hope the bureaucracy, there's nothing wrong with the bureaucracy, there's nothing wrong with the machineries. A few perhaps non-performers need to be weeded out, which happens in case of even private sector, it can happen even in the government sector. But here, the transparency, the procedures, the law, some of those, the protection which has been guaranteed under Article 311, that needs to be taken care of. So let me thank all my guests for making it a very animating, very insightful discussion, and thank you for watching TIOL Tube. Thank you, sir.